The Galactic Defense Academy's training hall buzzed with the low hum of anti-gravity platforms and the sharp crack of plasma-training weapons. Instructor Velthar, a towering Crinian with 4 arms and chitin plating that had survived 3 decades of combat, watched the defensive formation drills with his usual critical eye. His species had perfected military tactics over millennia, and he took pride in molding the next generation of the Coalition's defenders. Among the cadets, there was one human, Sarah Chen, a compact woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that missed nothing. She moved through the drill with a fluidity that unnerved her fellow cadets. Humans were still relatively new to the Galactic Coalition, having joined only 15 cycles ago, and their reputation was complicated. "Chen! Center position!" Velthar's voice boomed across the hall. Sarah jogged to the designated spot, her boots barely making a sound on the metallic floor. Around her, other cadets continued their paired exercises. Zenthorians practicing shield formations, Dorvac learning suppression fire patterns, and the insectoid Chixta working on their swarm coordination. What Sarah didn't know was that Velthar had arranged something special for today. 4 of his top cadets, all males from species known for their physical prowess, had been given a secret objective. They were to ambush Chen during what she believed was a standard defensive drill. Velthar wanted to see how humans responded to genuine surprise attacks, to understand the combat psychology that had made them such unpredictable opponents in the few border skirmishes they'd been involved in. The signal came silently through the other cadets' neural links. Dren, a massive Corvaxi built like a walking tank, approached from Sarah's blind spot. His 3 companions, 2 Zenthorians and a Draxil, moved into position with practiced precision. They'd trained together for months and outweighed Sarah by a combined 600 pounds. Sarah was reviewing a holographic tactical display when Dren struck. The Corvaxi's arm swung toward her neck in what was meant to be a non-lethal chokehold, the opening move to pin her for the others to disarm. But Sarah's head tilted a fraction of a second before impact. She'd caught his reflection in the hologram's surface. Instead of his arm wrapping around her throat, it met empty air as she dropped into a crouch that would have been impossible for most species' hip joints. In the same motion, Sarah's leg swept out, but not at Dren. She hooked the ankle of Zenthorian cadet Raxmul, who was charging from her right. The reptilian warrior's momentum became his enemy as he toppled forward, directly into Dren's path. Sarah didn't pause. As Raxmul fell, she grabbed his training rifle with one hand while her other palm struck upward into Dren's elbow joint, hyperextending it. The Corvaxi roared in pain as she twisted, using Dren's massive body as a pivot point to swing herself up and around. Her boots connected with his chest, and she pushed off, launching herself backward toward the remaining 2 attackers. The 3rd cadet, another Zenthorian named Thexel, had his plasma trainer raised, but Sarah was already inside his guard. She'd kept hold of Raxmul's rifle, and now she drove its stock into Thexel's weapon, angling it upward. The training bolt discharged harmlessly into the ceiling as Sarah's knee found his midsection. The entire sequence had taken perhaps 4 seconds. Instructor Velthar's eyes widened. He'd seen combat footage of humans, but witnessing their adaptability in person was different. The human female hadn't just defended herself, she'd turned her attackers into obstacles for each other. The 4th attacker, Creve, a Draxil with venomous spines along his arms, approached more cautiously. He was the smartest of the group, and he'd just learned why humans were dangerous. They weren't stronger or faster than most species. They were unpredictable, turning every disadvantage into an improvised weapon. Sarah stood with Raxmul's rifle in hand, breathing hard but steady. Her eyes tracked Creve as he circled. Behind her, Dren was recovering, cradling his hyperextended arm. Raxmul and Thexel were getting back to their feet. "Yield!" Velthar's voice cut through the tension. "Stand down!" Creve immediately lowered his weapon. The others followed suit, though Dren's expression mixed pain with something like respect. Sarah lowered the rifle but didn't release it, her stance still coiled with potential energy. "Sir," she acknowledged, her voice calm despite her elevated heart rate. Velthar approached, his forearms crossed in the Crinian gesture of impressed acknowledgement. "Explain your tactics, Cadet Chen." Sarah's shoulders relaxed slightly. "They coordinated well, sir, but they assumed I'd respond like a Korvaxi or Zenthorian would, try to match strength with strength. Instead, I used Cadet Raxmul's momentum to create a collision with Cadet Dren. Once they were entangled, I had 3 seconds before the other two could adjust. Humans evolved as persistence hunters and opportunistic fighters. We're adapted to turn our environment and our opponents into tools." "You anticipated the ambush," Velthar observed. "I knew something was off when you isolated me during a group drill, sir, and I caught Cadet Dren's reflection moving into an attack posture." The instructor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "And if you hadn't seen the reflection?" Sarah met his gaze directly. "Then I would have taken the chokehold, used my lower center of gravity to drop my weight, and worked from there. Humans aren't built to win every fight, sir. We're built to survive every fight." Around the training hall, other cadets had stopped their drills to watch. Whispers spread in a dozen languages. The human had used one attacker to defeat 3 others, had turned a 4-on-1 ambush into a series of 1-on-1 engagements through nothing but spatial awareness and tactical improvisation. Velthar turned to address the entire assembly. "This," he gestured to Sarah, "is why the Coalition recruited humans. Not because they're the strongest or fastest species, but because they refuse to fight fair. They refuse to accept limitations. They turn disadvantages into weapons and weapons into advantages. Remember this lesson." Sarah finally released the training rifle, handing it back to a sheepish Raxmul. As she walked back to the formation, she caught whispers from the other cadets, no longer dismissive but wary and respectful. In the galaxy's vast military machine, humans had found their place not as the strongest soldiers, but as the ones who redefined what strength meant.